piano time.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast. As always, this is your host, Dalton, joined with my good friend, Dante. My man.
What's up?
It's almost, I'm dubbing this now simulator season. It is now simulator season in the heart of spring. It's golf club season for those of you with a PS4.
Or Xbox
or Xbox.
PC.
It is the unofficial official opening of indoor season 2.0.
It's virtual golf season. That's what it is.
Hey, if you can't get outside, we got to go inside. They're not going to stop us from swinging the golf clubs.
No. Hey, listen, I had to reconfigure my room, and I'm fortunate enough to actually have space. It's risky for a full swing, but I can work on some takeaway stuff because it's been a major issue. I wouldn't say major issue, but
takeaways like 60-70% of most people's problems. So kudos to you for being an addict like me and the rest of us. I think our listeners are.
Hey, I sent you a
way to make it happen.
Listen, I had a tendency to flip inside, and I've been reaching out to people, and that's another good time. If we're not on the course now, but go on YouTube, watch previous rounds, watch a bunch of instructional videos. There's thousands of people out there that, if you need something to work on, you want to fix your swing, go on YouTube, go on the internet and just start working on it. Cause that's what I've been doing. I've been literally and thanks to Ethan Smith, E Smith Golf, previous podcast, I know guys trying to grind it on tour. His swing is just so sick, just so smooth and just perfect.
Oh my God, I couldn't agree more. I could just watch it on loops for days.
Yeah. So I have an issue with my takeaway. I tend to flip inside, then lift up, and then get everything back in the sequence, which can lead to a lot of inconsistencies. So obviously, I want to work on taking my takeaway back to the most best position. So I reached out to him and I was like, yo man, you got any good takeaway drills? And he actually showed me one. It was basically kind of, you take your backswing, but you pause halfway so you can see the club parallel to the ground and the face just slightly a little bit closed, or just perfect. And then you just continue on through. And he goes, that's the best way to kind of get a feel, but also get a view on that. So I've been doing that. And then I actually was just constantly working at it. And I actually had no ball, obviously, because the houses that are in my community are very, very close. So it was just in my yard, and I had it filmed and I sent it to you. And I was actually impressed myself, and I don't like to toot my own horn.
No, but I was impressed. It was a complete and utter change. And I'm like, it looked like you had been working on your swing for months, but it had only been an hour or two. And it was completely different. And I think that's the biggest thing people can get to, whether it's like you said, reaching out to people who are in the industry, or even there's so many teachers out there, guys. Seriously, it kind of harps off of the thing we were talking about last week by helping out the PGA pros, the people in the golf industry who are out of jobs right now. There are a lot of pros still giving e-lessons, still giving online lessons. So you send in your down the line swing, your front facing swing, and they'll draw, comparison lines on it, where you need to be, where you should be. And they'll hop on a Zoom call or a Skype call and actually help you work on drills to get you better. So there's so many people out there like that, guys. For a perfect example, Erica Larkin, who we interviewed down at the PGA show in Orlando. I know she's doing a lot of online lessons. And there's just there's all kinds of PGA pros. I would highly recommend, if you know some PGA pro in your area that's kind of, middle-aged and good with technology, they're most likely doing online lessons. So seek them out. They will guaranteed appreciate the little bit of income that please pay them if they're a PGA pro and are out of work, and you would usually go and pay them in person. Don't expect online lessons for free just because it's online. But if you have friends that are just willing to work like E. Smith worked with you, Dante, then reach out to your friends. Perfect time to work on the game and keep getting better.
Oh, for sure, man. And And that's another thing. It's because, I mean, we all know when you put the clubs down for a little bit and you get back, the rust comes back real quick with
And
it.
you put the clubs down
Whew,
for a week, like from weekend to
that
weekend.
touch
If you don't pick them up,
disappears.
it's gone. Yeah,
Oh, I know.
there needs to be
Oh,
a quarantine open, like for anyone who hasn't touched their clubs and during the entire quarantine. The first weekend we're allowed back. If you break 90, you get like money to the pro shop or something like that.
yo, I'm not gonna lie. This one tournament near me in the area, they're nationwide, and it's Golf Week magazine, Golf Week Am Tour, and they got a Philly spot. So the first two locations were actually at some of my home tracks that I can play at. So those got canceled. So the next one they're open now, quote unquote opening day is May 4th. And I saw that they just, Trump just put an extension to April 30th. I'm like, oh boy. So I was sitting there thinking, I was like, you know what? I'll just like, I won't pay yet, but I'll put myself on the list, sign up. But then I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm going to do as much possible work as I can to generate a good swing and just keep, mechanics there and just keep feel there. But I'm not going to know what the ball flight's going to be. And in hopes everything's, lifted or we're slowly getting back to a norm.
It's going to be an absolute prayer for a
Oh
ton of
man,
people out there come the first day
it's
we're back
gonna
on the course. And
the
I'm all for
course.
it.
It's gonna be fun because it's gonna be if that happens and if we're being optimistic here, say we finally get to that point where we start making moves and start coming back to a normal, getting outside and being able to play. It's just gonna be more of a just like I guess you can say just like gratitude and just like relief that we can
Oh my God.
finally go out and play. And
It's
then
going to be, you're going to realize how good we had it beforehand. And I think that's what people are already realizing. It's like, dude, just like people want the small things already. And it's only been like a couple weeks. Like if we make it till the end of April and are finally like giving the go, we're going to be like racehorses at the gate, man. We're just going to be begging to be let loose on a golf course, man. And
but
just, we talked about it too, how pure these golf courses are going to be.
that's what I was
Oh,
gonna say.
man.
I mean, imagine going playing like a top private course in the area, first tournament of the season. It's their opening day. You're excited to be back. You're like you said, it's the horses running out the gates, and I mean, imagine, obviously they're not stopping the maintenance of the course just because no one's playing. You got to keep that up. Like, so you're not getting any foot traffic, cart traffic, you
Oh,
name
and
it.
and
And
it's like we said too, maintenance crews are using this time to punch, so we're not going to have to worry about aeration holes.
mhm.
And I even saw, we follow some agronomy pages on our, on our Instagram, and we even saw guys kind of letting, the grass in the fairways overgrow and then cut it again so that any like inconsistencies in the fairways, guys, all I'm saying is thank a greenskeeper, thank a super, thank an assistant super, because when you get back out there on the golf course after all this madness settles, you're going to be playing the purest your golf course has ever played. And I promise you that. And it's going to be heaven on earth.
Dude, I even asked, I was going back and forth with Trevor, and, he's a greenskeeper out there in, California. Shout out to him. And I asked him, I said, how pure these courses are going to be you know, when things get lifted and we're all back to normal. And he said, he goes, it's going to be insane. He didn't really have much words to say. It's going to be pretty pure. It's going to be immaculate. You name it.
You're gonna have like
playing.
simple muni tracks looking like your high-end private club, because there's gonna be no inconsistencies. There's gonna be no divots. There's gonna be no ball marks. It's just gonna be pure. It's gonna be great.
You're going to be. Oh, that's what he said. He goes, it's going to be basically brand new, and you're going to be playing on course conditions that you have never seen before. The stuff that probably comes close to what you would see on TV on a tour event or these high-end, amateur events that take place at some of these top courses.
It was really funny, and like this may be the wrong way to look at it, but I saw something the other day, and it made me kind of chuckle, but it also made me realize, like, man, that's actually probably a good point. Like, yes, this virus is like devastating. And it's really obviously having its really, really bad scenarios kind of come play out in front of us right now. But in the same time, it's almost like Mother Nature is just kind of letting us let her breathe. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at like kind of the economic and like environmental impacts that we're just not having on the planet from every aspect, it's like kind of Mother Nature's just kind of being like, can I breathe for like a minute?
Hmm.
Like
I
let me
mean,
heal myself for a
we
second,
were
and
we
then
were
you can
talking.
have back at it, you know?
Yeah, we were talking about this too because everything was just moving 1,000 miles a minute. Like, I mean, it was moving so fast just
Yeah.
throughout the world, and it almost kind of just, yo, let's take a step back. Let's slow down. And I think it really, it is eye opening to a lot. Where in hopes for me, because even back in my area, things are just going so fast, and just people are moving like way too fast, and they're just like push, 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 push. And you gotta at the end of the day, you gotta realize that you know you you gotta take care of yourself first. You're not gonna get anywhere if you're trying out there, like, take care of yourself first, then take care of others. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not gonna be able to take care of others. So it's kind of just, take a step back, appreciate what you got, and just chill for a minute.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't agree more.
I mean, I'm seeing articles. Obviously, like, you scroll through Facebook, you can go down 1,000 different rabbit holes.
Too
But
easy.
yeah, I
Way
mean,
too easy.
we won't get into that. But I've been seeing a lot more articles lately being posted regarding the health of the earth, on how things are. Like you said, Mother Nature's just like, yo, I need to breathe,
Yep.
and things are kind of getting back to what I guess you can say the standard norm. So it's good to see. So it's as much negative as out there, and as much as our society is a negative society, and that's what pushes ratings and
Mhm.
pushes news. You got to try and kind of move that away and take a deeper look and
Yeah, I
really
mean,
see the positives out
for
of it.
example, 100% to build on that, seeing the positives. Real quick before we get to this interview, they were seeing animal like life, like dolphins and like swans and like true like ocean life in the canals of Venice for like the first time in over like hundreds of years. They said the water in Venice had like cleared up to the point of like it was crystal clear,
Hmm.
and they had never seen that in like generations. Now,
Hmm.
granted, Italy was one of the most hardest hit, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation over there because I know a lot of people are losing family members. But what I am saying is like, let's just smile and recognize the positives that are coming out of this, and saying that like, okay, so people are quarantining themselves in a house. People are taking a minute in their lives to breathe, and it's letting Mother Nature breathe too. And we're seeing it not only in Italy, but we're seeing it in our own aspects on the golf course side of things. Golf courses are finally breathing. You think about how many courses, especially resort courses, we're getting, over 400 rounds a day. That's so much foot traffic, so much, wear and tear on greens and bunkers. And you have it. The entire golf course experience is getting so run down on a daily basis. All right, shut it down for 2 months. It's probably the best thing that could ever happen to mainstream anything, let alone mainstream golf. And I think, especially from an appreciation level, like we said, it's just going to be so great when we get back out there, man. Everyone just is dying that has been shut down. Not the whole nation hasn't been, deprived of golf like we have kind of here in the Northeast, but we have friends out in the Utah area that are still playing. Virginia's still playing, and
I want to,
people in
as
Florida are playing. But like, and good on them. But the people that can't play are going to just appreciate this game at a whole new level when we get back to it.
oh, absolutely. Dude, the golf courses and the hospitality industry is just going to be, it's going to be right out the gates, just going. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, it's just, hey, just take a step back, appreciate your things.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
at the end of the day, if any of our listeners are really struggling with it, reach out to us. Just have a conversation with this man. I mean, we'd love to see how we can help in any way, shape, or form. And if you just want someone to talk to, if you're bored as shit, during your quarantine, hit us up. We're always cool for a conversation too. I think that's the other thing that, people kind of are either missing or just need to realize is like, just because we're quarantining inside doesn't mean we have to quarantine all of our relationships either. Like now is the time to actually reach out more and talk to people more and really be there for, whoever may be struggling or whatever. So reach out, guys, whether it's to us or your other members in the golf community or not even in the golf community, and step on the PS4 and play Dante and some.
That's what I'm going to say, man. If you're in an area and you can't golf and you want the closest thing to golf, grab a PS4, grab the Golf Club 19, hit me up. I'll give you my gamer tag. It's Fred, DFR, the number 3, D, __B. I know it's a little complicated.
Go play the man already. He's getting bored.
Yo, I'm trying to get some Venmo money matches going. This would be sick. So, but I'm saying, if it's the closest thing you got, if you don't have a simulator, if you don't have any room, if you're sick of just swinging, at air balls all day, if you want to play 18 holes, your closest thing to golf is to play the Golf Club 2019. Get it. Hit me up. Let's play some golf.
Do it. Just do it.
That's all I got to say. That's what I've been doing. On repeat.
Amen to that, guys. We hope you're enjoying life, that's been brought to us here in the last couple of weeks. And, keep a smile on your face. We'll get through it all together, and we'll be better together. So, we're still running our $3 stickers, The Golf is Life. So check them out if you guys would like to. We'd really appreciate it. Any and all proceeds from the Golf is Life stickers, shirts, and hats all go back to New Jersey and Maryland golf industry that has kind of been shut down and stifled for right now. So we've already had a really, really strong kind of first initial push on it, but we'd really like to do our best in giving back the way we knew how, which is through our platform with Enjoy the Walk. So head over to www.enjoythewalk.store to check out everything there. You can check our latest blog posts, check our latest apparel drops, and order a new sticker pack, which we have updated stickers. We got the bagger mentality stickers there. We have our shield stickers. We have the walkers quicker than most stickers. And for anyone on YouTube, you guys can kind of see what we're talking about. But guys, go support us. It would mean the world because we're just looking to help and give back to our local golfing community. So without further ado, that's it from us this week, guys. Go enjoy the walk. And next up, an awesome interview with a PGA Tour and Korn Ferry Tour caddy. Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast. As always, joined by my good friend Dante. I am Dalton. I think we've maybe not given the fans enough credit to our own names, Dante. I feel like we've had a couple of listeners tuning back in and saying, hey, I picked up the podcast late, and what's your name? Or what's the other guy's name with the deeper voice? And so associating this voice, I am Dalton, and Dante is with me this evening. We usually have Isaiah, who's currently blessed to have a job in the golf industry still. They haven't shut down in Virginia quite yet. So yeah, Dante, how are things, man?
Quarantine life. As we were saying earlier, video games, food, walk, work, Netflix, repeat. That's
I got
living the life here.
I dusted off the old OptiShot. It's a really, really cheap version of a golf simulator, but I think I'm going to just have to start resorting to that to get some swings in because I'm really jonesing here.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw you post that, and then I messaged you. I said, "Where are you going to do that?" And you said, "Just move the chair."
Yeah.
Lucky for you, you actually have room. I don't know if I can move some furniture around this house. So
all things are in play when you're stuck inside for this long. But hey, we have a pretty sweet guest with us, and I'd like to get right into it. PGA Tour caddy, Korn Ferry Tour caddy, kind of worked his way up through the ranks just all by networking and getting in with some really, really great names, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a little bit. But without further ado, Colton Heisey, thanks for joining us, man. How's everything going with you?
It's good. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be back talking about golf and something along the likes of it. It's been a little while here.
Yeah, for sure. I know you've unfortunately been sidelined here with all the cancellations and everything, but keeping a good attitude, as we were talking before we got on the show, keeping yourself busy. But yeah, let's get right into, back on the golf side of things. We love talking everything golf. So kind of just take us through, the first couple steps of how you first got introduced to the caddying life.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I carried my first bag when I was 16. There was a PGA Club Pro, like the National Invitational, that was down at Hershey Country Club, and they needed some volunteer caddies, so I went down there, caddied that. Um, didn't really caddy again until like 2 or 3 years later, I guess. Yeah, my senior year. After I finished up my senior year, went down to Myrtle Beach and caddied another PGA Club Pro, and then went to McDaniel College down in Westminster, Maryland. After I graduated, played a year Division III, transferred to Westchester University, stopped playing golf, and started caddying at Aronimink and Applebrook. They're both pretty high-end courses down there in the greater Philadelphia area. Caddied there in the summers all through college. And one summer, my buddy and I, we got bored because it was kind of slow at the club. So we decided to go caddy the U.S. Junior Am down in in Hilton Head at Colton River. And so we didn't know any of the players. We called down. They're like, yeah, we need a bunch of caddies yet. We're like, all right, perfect. We'll come down, but only if we can pick our players. So we did some research. I picked Sahi Thagala that plays at Pepperdine. They just finished up. Wow, their season got cut short.
Yeah, but they were having, I don't mean to cut you off, but they were having quite possibly one of the most historic collegiate, spring tournament schedules that was being recorded, man. They were on fire, especially Sai.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially, they hadn't really had a full team they've had some really good players come through Pepperdine. This was the first time they kind of had a top 10 team in a long time. So I know they were really looking forward to that. I talked to Scythe a bunch this spring, and he came off a wrist injury last year, so he missed the whole year last year, and came back and started to play some really good golf. He won the Australian Master of the AMs down there, and then had played really well here starting the spring. And I know he was looking forward to making some noise, hopefully on the national scene, and he was probably the front runner for the Haskins Award and whatnot. So I know they're bummed, but they've all got really good head on their shoulders out there. So Coach Beard, I'm sure, took care of them. So
for sure.
Unfortunate to see it end for them, but they were ranked number one for the first time in a while. So I know they're happy and bummed at the same time. There were
so many records being broken just in a short amount of time. Those kids were able to play. It was it's a shame to see them get cut short, because I think they really could have, kind of torched the whole college golf scene and set a new standard for what a team looks like if they would have been able to play the rest of the season.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you started at the Junior Am is kind of like where you really got into starting seeing a top-notch level of performance. Other than starting to caddy with him, what did the rest of your gigs kind of look like from there on out?
Yeah, so I caddied for Scythe there, and then the next summer he was really good friends with Matt Wolf, and I got introduced to Matt there at the first Junior Am. They were both Cali boys, so they knew each other, and Matt qualified for the USAM out at Oakland Hills. And Detroit's like 7.5 hours from me. And so Scythe had his coach going with him from Pepperdine, and I asked him if he knew anyone else looking, and he said that Matt might be, so I reached out to Matt, ended up caddying for Matt there, and then worked a couple more AM events for Scythe, and kind of got to meet some of the other guys, got to know Sam Burns and his caddy, his buddy Nolan, who caddied for him all through his AM events, got to know Nick Hardy and his buddy Eric really well. And so just kind of networked my way, met some of those guys. And then when I graduated, I moved down to West Palm Beach and was caddying at a country club down in Jupiter. And it was like 4 months into the season down there, and I was on the 12th tee of a club loop down there. And obviously, like, club caddying, it's great. I mean, you can make very good money. It's all cash and fine, but you're not getting to see the high level golf. You don't get the competitive edge going again. You don't get your juices flowing like being out on tour does.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole goal. When I graduated, I kind of gave myself a little bit of a timeline to get out on tour. And if that didn't happen, I had my degree and I was planning on going and getting a job in another section of the work world. And so we're on the 12th tee of a club loop down there, and I get a call coming from Sam Burns, and I look at my phone, and I'm literally on the par 3 tee about to shoot a yardage, and I'm like, I got to take this call, guys. I'm sorry. And so answer the phone, and Sam's buddy Nolan's on the phone, and he's like, hey, can you get to the Bahamas in 2 days? And I'm like, not really sure that's possible. I don't have a passport, but like, what's going on? Like, who needs a guy? And he's like, well, Max Homa needs someone. His caddy bailed, and you really need someone. So I talked to Max. I'm like, let me see if I can somehow work out getting there in 2 days. I don't think that's possible. But if you need someone going forward, like, I can get everything expedited and get to the next event in the Bahamas, because obviously he still didn't have anyone going forward. So that's kind of what happened. I got my parents faxed me all my documents. I went to Miami on a Wednesday. Got my passport expedited because if you have proof of travel for business, they'll expedite that for you. And I flew out Thursday morning to the Bahamas and worked for Max in the Bahamas. We finished 18th, and then he had something lined up for the next 3 weeks. Well, he actually wasn't sure what starts he was going to get, but he actually top 25, so he got something for the next week, had a caddy lined up, and then I came back to work for him in Louisiana, and that was kind of been on tour since.
That's grinding. That is grinding.
I was
that is
absolutely
fantastic.
That also just straight up escalated too, in a good way.
Yeah, like I feel like there was a moment there where you just didn't take a breath and were just like, I did this and then I did this, and it's like, but in the same aspect, I feel like that's how you had to feel, because it happened so fast and you expedited your passport and all of a sudden you're in the Bahamas, and then boom, you got a consistent job.
For sure. I mean, and that's kind of how it goes. It's like, I mean, I would say 90% of the caddies on tour don't have a story like that, but everyone has a unique story. Like I would say 90% of the caddies on tour didn't intentionally end up caddying on the PGA Tour. Most of them either were a former golfer themselves, a friend of somebody who played, and they got asked to come work a tournament, and then they loved what they did, and they just kind of fell into it. But every caddy you talk to definitely has a unique story of how they got into caddying and how it kind of stuck for them. And that's the one really cool thing about the profession.
I think that's so true. And I think why like so many books have been written about caddies, and like the reason they have their stories of how they've grinded. And so many of them, like you did, started out caddying, whether it was through high school or college level, and then said, you know what, I'm going to give it a year or two and see how I can grind. And, you know, the ones that made it are the ones that showed up at these mini tour events and said, all right, you know, I'm going to wait in the parking lot to get a bag, or they networked like you did and worked junior events. And, you know, I always think back to kind of when Jordan Spieth came on the scene, and they always did these big parts on Greller, and how he was just like a high school teacher beforehand, and kind of just got looped into doing some junior events for Spieth, and then he popped. And then it was like, well, I won this junior tournament with him, I might as well stick with him. And he kind of just got looped into the position.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and especially at those junior events, because one, the players at that point don't know what it's like to have someone that actually caddies. So as a caddy, you can kind of get away with being not like at the top of your game and kind of learning alongside the player. Like, I mean, I look back at even my yardage books and just my preparation and everything from like the first year on tour with Max to like the things we do now, and just how much more comfortable I am preparing for a week and getting into situations where we're close to the lead and having won a golf tournament. Like, it's just all different. Like, you look back on that and you're like, wow, I was probably not the greatest caddy when I first started, even though you think you're doing great.
Yeah, you think you're checking all the boxes until you get put up, you know, in the big leagues, as one people would call it, and then you all of a sudden look back and say, whoa, you know, the guys around me are all of a sudden at a much higher of a you know, just production level, proficiency level, and you kind of look at it and say, all right, well, now I need to get there. I thought I was, at level A, and all of a sudden I'm back down to level C, kind of fighting my way back up to when you realize all the work and preparation that goes into, being a top-notch caddy.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. And I kind of got to experience that last year and got to the PGA Tour for 9 events. And you kind of you have to try and take in everything that you get to see, because you see a lot of caddies from the Korn Ferry Tour. Unfortunately, they go up with their player at the end of the year, and then 7-8 weeks into the season, you see them back on the Korn Ferry Tour. And I mean, so you just have to kind of take that in stride and know that happens to guys, and you have to grasp all you can and soak up as much information as you can. And if it happens to you, just know that you don't want that to happen again. So, I mean, you just got to roll with the punches. I mean,
it's a business at the end of the day, I feel like. No matter how
100%.
sentimental you get attached to some player, or even if you start winning,
100%.
it's a business.
We tend to be a little bit of a human punching bag. So, I mean, we know what we're signing up for. So,
yeah.
You just roll with that.
The caddies are always the first to blame, I feel like, at the end of the day.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. But we wouldn't have it any other way.
Now, I got to ask, I want to backtrack just a little bit, because you rattled off a lot of names there in your, your jump from junior level to, the mini tours to looping on tour. And you mentioned Matt Wolff, you mentioned Max Homa, both winners in 2019. Now, to put context to when you caddied for them, you caddied for Matt Wolff at the junior level. What year was that? And then also context for when you caddied for Max Homa. Kind of what year was that you caddied for those guys? And
yeah. So Matt would have been his senior year in high school. Not exactly sure if it was 2016, 2017, but in that ballpark. It was the USAM at Oakland Hills, and he had just, I think, so it would have been in the summer. He was just finishing up his senior year, and I mean, he had played in like some of the big amateur stuff, but he didn't come from like a super wealthy family, so he was just playing in stuff that he had kind of won his way into and made a name for himself. So we get there, and we played our first 2 rounds with, I think, Nick Hardy and Lee Hodges. And we got to a drivable par 4, and Nick pumped driver, and I think it came up like 15 yards short. And like, Nick's fairly long, like definitely well above average on tour. And we've played, I've seen him play a fair amount of golf. And Matt pulls out 3-wood, and he's like, it's like 290 front. And he's like, do you think I can cover it? And I'm like, I've been working for you for 2 days now. So, that's going to be your call. We don't have any hurting wind, but like, that's going to be your call here. And he covers the front by like 7 or 8 yards. And I think Nick and Lee kind of looked at each other like, who is this kid? Like, it's a high school kid swinging it like that. But his swing was not the exact same, but he still had the similar move that he does now.
That was going to be my question. Was that little hitch in that swing at that early of an age?
Oh yeah. Everything was still there. Nothing looks different. I have videos from the range at Oakland Hills, and
Love that.
nothing major has changed there. I think Gigi just kind of helped him refine that, and obviously it's working for him.
Yeah, no, they got Gankus has got a whole crew working something special out there. Whatever he's doing, it's definitely catching on by the masses. I feel like, especially guys playing at a top level. Yeah,
no doubt. If you want to gain speed and gain length, I think he's definitely a guy that's shown that he can improve that in your game for sure.
No doubt. So take us back a little bit. You mentioned kind of making that jump from the junior level to Korn Ferry to, caddying a little bit on the PGA Tour. And you mentioned kind of the differences between Korn Ferry caddies and tour caddies. What have you noticed that kind of goes into the preparation side of things that differentiates just kind of like an average or even below average caddy from the guys that are really making a living out of caddying day to day?
Yeah. So, honestly, the PGA Tour, when it comes to getting and staying on the PGA Tour, a lot of it just has to do with experience and the people out there. As far as like the actual caddying and whatnot, I honestly feel like the Korn Ferry Tour has been a really good thing for a lot of caddies because the yardage books aren't quite as good. You don't get the full-blown greens books from Mark Long with every detail tracked. So if your guy wants greens and stuff, you kind of have to do a little bit of work yourself. There's just definitely more work that goes into like the preparation side of making sure your book is good to go and making sure you have everything noted and plates are marked and everything on those, like along those lines. As far as like the pressure of caddying on either tour, the PGA Tour, when it comes to crowds are definitely bigger. Like the pressure of winning a PGA Tour event is definitely way different than being in contention like on the Korn Ferry Tour. The Korn Ferry Tour is obviously life-changing. Guys who win on that tour, I think their lives change a lot more significantly than guys on the PGA Tour. I mean, you could finish solo second on the PGA Tour and are in pretty good position to keep your card. And I mean, winning obviously gets you an exemption, but I mean that winning on the Korn Ferry Tour and knowing that you are probably going to get your PGA Tour card, that's definitely a bigger step, I feel.
Yeah. And take us through that a little bit, because I know you've had experience, kind of walking down that Sunday atmosphere at the Rocket Mortgage. You were on the bag for Doc Redman. You guys ended up finishing second there, but talk us through a little bit. You mentioned it a little there, but I want you to go into like, how tense and how real is that moment? Like, can you feel it from the crowds of just walking down like 16, 17, 18 of actually trying to win an event like that on the PGA Tour level?
Yeah, so it's one of the fortunate things I think that week for us was that we honestly didn't really have a chance to win. Nate Lashley ended up, he kind of blew the field away all week. Mm-hmm. He won by like 5 or 6. So there was never really a point where that kind of crept into our mind where, we have a chance to win this golf tournament. We were pretty steady all week. I think we shot 4 under, 5 under, 5 under, 5 under, or in that ballpark. We finished at like 18, 19, or 20. And so I think Nate finished at 25 or 26, but it just never, like even on the final day, like we were well back going into the final day, and we came out and birdied like 3 of our first 4 or 4 of our first 5. So it was kind of one of those things like, okay, now we can kind of flip the switch. Like we've got a chance here to do something like significant and lock up status and get temporary status on the PGA Tour. So that was kind of our goal going into the weekend. Obviously first when you show up after Monday qualifying, he had just been playing up in Canada. And he flew in on a red eye, played the Monday qualifier off of no sleep, shot 61 or 62, made like 10 birdies.
Effective.
And so obviously, yeah. Absolutely sick. And then you show up out there and obviously no one really knows who you are. We had a guy come up to us on, I think it was Tuesday in our practice round. There were some fans out there, and the guy came up to Doc and he's like, hey, I'm filling out my DraftKings lineup for the week. Like, who are you? Should I take you? And he's like, are you going to make the cut? And Doc just looks at him. He goes, am I going to make the cut? And it's like, that's just kind of the personality he has. He's got confidence in his game. He knows that when he's playing well, he's as good as anybody out there. And that's just kind of the things you see from the younger guys who have success on tour. It's definitely a mindset. They know that their good weeks are just as good as anybody else's good weeks, and it doesn't matter who they're playing against and where they're playing.
Boy, I hope that guy took him that week.
I hope so too for his sake, but I have a feeling that he may not have remembered it after having a few too many beers that day.
That's unfortunate. But yeah, you make a great point. Those young kids that are out there, whether it's Doc or Mac Wolf or Morikawa, they almost have this fearlessness to them. And it seems to just be kind of more and more present with the kids that are coming up each and every year. But it's just impressive to watch these guys go out and just have, kind of no holdbacks as far as like going out and just firing 6 or 7 under rounds. Like it's kind of just easy to them, and it's fun to watch. And definitely this next generation of players, even behind them, I think is going to even be better.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. This class that just came out is going to be, I mean, it definitely rivals I think it was the 2011 class um, with JT and all of those guys. But yeah, I mean, it's impressive even right now. I mean, I'm working for Grayson Sig right now, and he's just an absolute stud. And I mean, you see it even with the other guys on the Korn Ferry Tour. I mean, we've played with some of the younger guys. Nick Hardy just got his Korn Ferry card. Played with him a bunch, and there's a lot of really good young talent that they don't like. They're very fearless. Like we said, if they finish 40th, they finish 40th, but they're playing to finish in the top 5 every single week, and there's no lack of confidence whatsoever.
No, I mean, I think you made a great point there with Grayson Sieg. It's, a Georgia Bulldog alum. He was 13th, I think, in the top 25 before the hiatus with everything going on, but he was definitely trending in the right direction and playing some damn good golf. So really cool to see, kind of you have a backseat view to all that. Walk us through a little bit of that, just like week to week on the Korn Ferry Tour. How long have you been on the bag for Grayson?
So I started working for him the very first week of the season. His caddy, well, he needed a caddy at final stage, and Matt Neesmith called me, and I was already working for Jordan Nieberge at finals. So I hooked him up with Chase Seifert's caddy, Brian Fitch. So he worked for Grayson all week at finals, and Grayson got his card, Korn Ferry card, and finished like 7th, I believe. So he locked up 12 starts. And so I was looking for a bag, and I had talked to Matt. I had talked to some other guys. I talked to Aaron Fleener, who works for JT Poston, and JT and Grayson have the same agent. So just kind of my name got passed to him by a couple different people. And so we agreed on doing the first couple events together, and we went and had some success in those events. We started the year with 5 straight top 25s there. So got off to a good start. And I mean, we get along very well. We both have pretty laid back demeanor, and we like to play a lot of good golf and aren't really scared of playing against anybody out there. So it's been a good combination. And obviously we're in a good position where we're at right now, but we definitely didn't want to stop playing golf after the start we kind of got off to there. But.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see, whenever the heck we get back on the golf course, kind of how these guys that were really trending momentum-wise, whether they pick back up. And, I feel like a lot of these guys are going back to their home clubs, and whether it's practicing on the TrackMan or they have good teams around them that I feel like, they'll be able to still stay in kind of the swing of things. But there's something to be said about just being out there week in and week out and finding momentum on a big stage like that.
No doubt, and especially on the Korn Ferry Tour. I mean, momentum's huge. Whether you make the cut and don't play well on Saturday and then play good on Sunday and take some momentum into the next week, or whether it's a couple good finishes in a row and you just start trending in the right direction. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for out there, because one good week can kind of solidify your status in your whole year. So the more you can build on it out there is definitely key. And I know, I mean, in like Grayson's case, he's been back at Sea Island, and they've had a couple small 2-day events down there. But I mean, he's still been playing really good golf. He won the first one, and then lost by 2 to Zach Johnson in the second one. So
ZJ still has a little fire in the bones.
Yeah. I talked to Grayson. He said Zach eagled the last to beat him in the second 2-day, but playing good golf regardless. Shot 8 under for 2 days, so you're doing something right when that happens.
Yeah, as I say, you gotta love that. That's never a bad sign.
No, for sure. And that's kind of Grayson's game. I mean, very consistent. He's played 3 years up on the Mackenzie Tour and never finished worse than like 18th on the money list up there. So a lot of consistency.
No doubt. So talk us through, you ended up being on the bag for a Korn Ferry win with Mike Gellerman in Kansas City. Talk us through that week a little bit, and maybe just kind of the uniqueness of kind of how you guys got that win, and how your relationship with Max Homa kind of really came in key to getting you guys through that week.
Yeah, so I've been working for Mike since the 4th or 5th event of last season. And so Kansas City's like right in the middle of the year, kind of like mid-May. And it was a new event. we got to the golf course. Obviously, you're doing your prep and everything, and it had rained all week leading up to it. It had rained. I mean, Thursday morning, we played early, and it was probably 37 degrees and raining. I mean, I think we shot
Oof.
1 under, or I forget what we shot the very first round, but we were like T12, and we had shot like even or 1 under. So it was, I mean, playing super difficult. It's a golf course that was so soft, and we won shooting like 11 under, where if that golf course this year plays firm and fast, if we get a chance to play it, I mean, you could legitimately win on that golf course shooting 4 under. The rough is thick. The golf course is so good. Blue Hills Country Club. It's Tom Watson has one of his junior tournaments there, and it is just such a good addition to the tour. They used to play a different club in Kansas City, so this was the first year we switched. But yeah, I mean, honestly, when we played the golf course in the practice round, we weren't sure that it was going to set up very well for us. There was a lot of dogleg lefts, and Mike's a cutter of the golf ball. So we kind of just talked about it, and we're like, all right, we're just going to hit less club off the tee. We're going to hit it to the corners of the dog legs, and we're just going to stay patient all week, and we're going to see what we can do. And obviously, like I said, the first round played really hard. It was cold and windy. And then the second round, we played pretty good. The third round was kind of the round that kind of got us back into the golf tournament. And I think so we were 3 back going into the final day, and it was sloppy. We had 2 rain delays in the final day. We had one when we were on like 12 or 13. I think we were on the par 5, 13. And so we go back out. We make birdie on 13 right after the rain delay. And we get to 14C, and he hadn't been looking at the leaderboards all day. He told me he didn't want to, just to, like if I had anything to tell him, just let him know. And he caught a glimpse of the leaderboard when we were on 14C, I believe. So we get up there, and he said to me, he's like, hey, like I caught a glimpse of the leaderboard. Like, just keep me in check the rest of the way. And so he was so steady all day. I mean, we ended up, I think we shot 1 under, and that was good enough to come back. Or it might have been, no, we might have shot 3 under bogey free on Sunday. But so we get to 18T, well, 17. We hit it in the left tree. 17 kind of gave us trouble all week. So dog leg right. You really don't have a great line off the tee. You feel like you can hit more club than you really can. And so we hit it through the fairway into the left trees. Have to hit it short left of the green to a back left flag that's like, it's like a 3-tier green to this back left corner. And so, I mean, it's pretty stuck. But he's like, what do you like here, dude? Should we just play this like 20 feet right? And I'm like, I mean, we didn't come here to finish second in the golf tournament. And he hit an unbelievable kind of flop chip shot to like 6 feet, makes that. And we get a rain delay. The horn blows right after we make the putt. So we're standing on 18C. We're the second to last group, and we have a 1-shot lead. And the guy behind us is 1 back, and the guy in front of us is 1 back. So we go in the clubhouse, and like you had said, mentioned Max and how he kind of helped. We get in the clubhouse, and Max had just won at Wells Fargo like the week before. And obviously, if you know how Max won, he had a rain delay on like 13 or 14 in the final round. And he talked about it, and I know in his podcast and a couple other podcasts about how that was kind of like time for him to settle himself. And he knew if he had a par putt right after the rain delay, and if he went out and made that, and that was kind of a turning point for him. So I texted him, and we were sitting in the clubhouse, and I asked him, I was like, hey, Max, like, we got a 1-shot lead standing on 18T. Like, is there any advice that you have for me? And he was just like, you always have to do less than you think you have to do in these situations. Like, you always feel like you need to make birdie, when a lot of times you just need to stay steady. If someone goes out and beats you, like, they beat you. But just don't make any mistakes, and just play your game. If you happen to make a birdie, you're probably going to lock up the golf tournament. And if you don't, like, it forces someone else to. And so I just kind of heeded that advice. And so we go out, and there was casual water like all week. I mean, you couldn't take relief from some of the fairways. So 18, we lay up, par 5. We lay up in the fairway, and we call the rules official over trying to get like casual water relief. And they told us that if we wanted to take relief, it was going to have to be in the rough. That's how wet the golf course was.
Wow.
So yeah, it was brutal. So we decided to just play it, and I mean, we just took another club, hit it up to like 40 feet, and two-putted it from there. And we just had to wait on the group behind us. That was kind of nerve-wracking because all my buddies beer showered me as soon as we finished, and Nelson hits his third shot in the bunker, so he has to hole out for a playoff, and my buddies beer showered me. And I was like, if I have to go caddy a playoff soaked in beer, I'm going to kill you guys.
Yeah, like, come on. These guys are professional golfers. He's got a damn good chance of pulling this thing out. Like, wait a minute.
I mean, it's like we've seen this happen way too many times. And my luck is like he's going to hold this out, and you guys are going to make me look like an idiot here. I'm going to be soaked going into caddy this playoff.
How's it come coming off of a rain delay like that? And I know the course is already saturated, but if you got rain coming through where, you know, you're forced to take a break until it passes, I mean, how's that got to be with a player trying to, you know, you have a feel for the greens all day, and then now the whole place is even saturated some more. How do you go about reading and making a putt off of that when you're in a crucial point to possibly win a tournament?
It was definitely interesting. I mean, he did everything on his own pretty much on the greens. I mean, I came in a little bit every once in a while, but so, I mean, that was pretty much on him. But he actually almost made the 40-footer. It was in the heart, came up like 2 or 3 feet short. But yeah, so I mean, it was interesting. But we just knew we needed to get it down in 2. But it was just kind of all week. We had rain on and off. There were so many rain delays all week that, I mean, you just kind of got accustomed to it. I mean, we knew going into the day that it was probably going to be pretty sloppy all day. Just kind of be prepared for whatever comes and just roll with the punches.
I love that. I think it's really cool just to kind of look back on it too, and just from my point of view, and maybe even Dante's too, just kind of like recognize what Max said, and just like, you know, you always think you have to do more, and kind of where my head went with that even is like when you're in a rain delay, you always feel like you got to be up and moving and like, you know, maybe even hitting balls before you go back out, depending on the rules, if it was a long enough rain delay or whatever. But it's like sometimes you just need to sit down, like relax, and realize that you have no control over what's about to happen. And you can kind of just almost take a breath and take a break. And a lot of people, especially I feel like at the amateur competitive level, don't understand that, like, yes, you can take a break and just let a load off for a little bit. It doesn't always have to be game time mode in between a race.
Remind me of Philmont last year when we had that like hour and a half break, and at first, you know, we were all on edge, and then sooner or later we're just drinking beers and Trulies.
We also had some open to ease the pain.
That is true, but yeah, sometimes you just gotta like distract yourself from the distraction itself, and then sooner or later you're back out on the course.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we were sitting in there, and it was funny. Like, Mike had his phone, but I wanted so badly just to take it from him and hide it from him, so he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, you had to know he was probably refreshing the leaderboard, right?
I mean, I don't know that he would have refreshed it on his own, but you know that text messages were coming in from people and kind of letting him know where he was at. And that's the one thing with the Korn Ferry Tours, you can't really hide from it because like he's from like that area. So he had a lot of family and friends in town that week. And so there were a lot of people like oh, you're in the lead, like letting him know as we're walking down like 16 and 17. It's like, all right, thanks guys. Like,
Yeah. I always
if
think
this
of
was a
that scenario because I had kind of the same scenario when I caddied for Isaiah back when in the Pennsylvania Am and the PA Open, but it was funny because he had family and friends in town, and it's the minute he gets in the lead and like they see a little local leaderboard like drive by on a golf cart, it's like, oh my God, he's in the lead or he's in by 2. And I always think of the moment in the movie The Greatest Game Ever Played when they tell young Francis we met that he's in the lead, and he starts shanking shots right after that because he just feels so much pressure. And the caddy goes, "Thanks for nothing." Like that's just always
yeah.
what it reminds me of when guys look at the leaderboard and realize they have a 1 or 2 stroke lead.
Oh, 100%. And that's exactly what it feels like as a caddy. Like we were walking down 16 and I forget, we had hit it just a little bit right into the right rough. And I mean, we hit a good tee shot, and I forget what the one guy said to him. He was walking the opposite way, probably trying to get to the final group, whatever. And he said something to him, and I just look at him. I'm like, really? Like, that's what you're going with? Like, you couldn't just leave him alone? But no, I mean, there's not much we can do, and obviously, you just try and keep your player in check at that point. But yeah, it was obviously a really cool experience, and you take I think it made me a lot more comfortable in Detroit when we finished second, and obviously the stage is a little bit bigger on the PGA Tour, but having that win in my back pocket, definitely as far as I went. I mean, that was the first PGA Tour event I ever caddied, and so that kind of helped relieve a lot of the pressure there.
Now tell us, have you kind of been back on the PGA Tour since then? And if so, who with?
Yeah, so the event we finished second in with Doc, I worked another event for him, and then finished the year up. I worked for Steve Allen. He Monday qualified into the John Deere and the Barbasol back-to-back. So I worked for him those 2 events. And then we Monday qualified this fall with Shintaro Bond. He Mondayed into the Greenbrier, so I worked for him. And then Mondayed into Sanderson Farms with Garrett Osborne, and we finished 18th there. So that was another good week out there.
Just gonna say, if you got paired up with any big names or anything.
So that was kind of the weird thing. Even like the week we finished second, we played twosome Saturday and Sunday. We played with Ted Potter on Saturday. Awesome guy. Caddie's awesome. And we played with Wes Roach on Sunday. So I think not being paired with any of like the big names also was kind of a relief that week, because it just didn't feel like we didn't really have the crowds and like the pressure out there. I mean, there were people obviously, but you don't have the Bubba crowds or the DJ crowds. So
or the Tiger crowds just swarming in.
Yeah. I mean, Detroit's crowds were awesome though. That was the first event back in PGA Tour event back in Michigan for them since like the Buick. Yeah. And I mean, they came out in the bunches that week. It was good to see. And that golf course is really, really good. It's a touch on the easier side, but obviously first year back, I'm sure they'll sure a little bit of that up, maybe grow their off that a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, it looked good
really
from the TV side of things. It was fun to watch that week too.
Yeah, really, really good, well put together event for being the first year back there and getting the golf fans, PGA Tour fans back out to tournament in Michigan for sure.
Awesome. Now, I saw you mention a little bit there, and I want to get into this, see your opinion on it. But you kind of mentioned how Ted Potter's caddy was pretty cool and a good guy. Who's your favorite caddy out there to kind of have a loop with, and do you hang out with many caddies off the golf course, and if so, kind of who's your go-to caddy on that side of things?
Yeah, so I kind of have a mix of really good friends that are, a couple of them are out on the PGA Tour, and most of them are out on the Korn Ferry Tour with me. And on the Korn Ferry Tour, we have a group of like 6 to 8 of us that kind of travel together. We have a travel group chat, and just kind of the guys that we enjoy spending our time with off the golf course and hanging out with. One of them is a really good mutual friend from back here in the Harrisburg area, and he actually quit a sales job last year to come out full-time on tour. He had been in the sales job for like 13 years, and didn't really enjoy the repetitiveness of it, and he just wanted to give it a shot. So in the Bahamas, Danny Walker needed a caddy. He came down, worked for Danny, then went back home and put his 2 weeks into his job, and he was planning on coming to Louisiana without a bag. So I hooked him up with Rian Gibson for 2 weeks. He worked for Rian just to fill in because Rian was in the midst of firing a guy and hiring a new guy. And so then right after Savannah, he started working full-time for Andrew Novak and just got his first win this year in Sarasota. Unfortunately, we didn't finish that golf tournament off, so I kind of gave Jeff a little shit for that. But happy to see him get a win for sure. And, yeah, so I think he's happy he made the switch. I know he's not enjoying this time off, but looking forward to be back out there. And we played 2 rounds with him earlier this year, and we have our side bets and whatnot. But, yeah, good friends with Jeff, good friends with a bunch of other guys on the Korn Ferry Tour, and then pretty good friends with Fleener and some of the guys out on the PGA Tour. Ryan Kirk was out there for a little bit with Kramer Hickok and some other guys that have met in my few events out there. But yeah, so it's been good. A lot of really good people.
That's awesome. Now I feel like, there's really, when you break it down, there's not that many guys out there caddying. So I had to feel like there was just there had to be a community of you guys that, just whether you knew of each other or hung out with each other off the course. So I feel like you guys had to, cross paths and be buddies at some point in time.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously we don't get a ton of time to do a lot as far as like going out or anything when we're out there working. I mean, obviously if you get a missed cut or you get a week off, you can spend some time with those guys. But yeah, it's been cool. Especially for me being one of the younger guys out there. Everyone's been really cool, really accommodating. And I mean, as much as you think it's a business and you're competing with those guys, and you see a lot more of that on the PGA Tour, it's a little more cutthroat out there. Mm-hmm. But especially on the Korn Ferry Tour, I mean, everyone's trying to travel as cheap as possible and make as much money as they can. So you see a lot of guys helping each other out, helping each other get bags, and just, I mean, it's more of a family out there for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know if Isaiah was here, I feel like he would chime in and kind of say the same thing about just traveling as cheap as possible. When he was, going up through Korn Ferry, qualifying school through first stage, second and third stage, he was staying with other guys and, Airbnbs, 4 or 5 bedroom places, all splitting it, just trying to be as cheap as possible just to make ends meet, to chase the dream. So it's cool to see the guys are be able to, make that happen on the level of the Korn Ferry. Cause I feel like they're stretching dollars thin from time to time if they're not in the top 25 or top 30.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you don't finish in the top 50 out on the Korn Ferry Tour, it's definitely tough to turn a profit as a player. Unless you have some lucrative endorsement deals, which kind of hard to come by as far as players go on that tour. But yeah, funny story about Isaiah is I played in the York County Amateur. I think it was my senior year in high school, and I think Isaiah won by like 13. I think I finished like 6th or 7th. Felt like I played pretty good for the week, and I think I lost by like 17 or 18 to him. So
yeah,
it's always when you know you don't have it.
Yeah, I realized that quick in college. But yeah, the York County Am, I remember him texting me after that. He had said something. He's like, "Oh yeah, I won today," and he never mentioned by how many. And then like the next day or two, I read in an article he won by like 13, and I texted him back. I was like, "You shithead! You didn't tell me you lapped the field. Like, come on."
Yeah, yeah. I felt like I played pretty good. I think I shot like 2 or 3 over for the week, and didn't even sniff him.
Yeah,
don't even think I had him in my sights on the last day.
I think he was just heading off to college or maybe in freshman year of college at that point. And he was definitely kind of peaking as far as playing at some damn good golf at that point.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So, man, before we let you go, we appreciate you taking the time out this evening. I have to ask, your Twitter bio says you're a Tito's enthusiast. With all this quarantine time, what's your go-to Tito's drink off the course? And is there one you go to on the course as well?
Yeah, so I mean, off the course, I am either Tito's water, and I take the Mio that you find in the store, and I usually will add a splash of that to the drink. Or if I'm at the bar, I usually don't like to carry Mio with me, so I'll just get a Tito's Club with a lime. But and on the golf course, if I don't really play much golf anymore, but if I do, I'm a big transfusion guy. So
Fair enough.
Yeah,
usually
I almost
try and incorporate those in there.
I would have to call you a psycho if you said you took a Mio with you to the bar. So I'm glad you stuck that in there. You don't carry.
That would be
it
hilarious. Just sitting there, out comes the pocket, just a little Mio, little thing, just squirt.
I mean, I can't say I've never done it, but it's definitely not on the regular.
Oh, I love that. Now that's cool, man. And guys, where can people find you to follow along on your journey?
Yeah, so on Instagram it's C Heisey, Heisey 33, and on Twitter C Heisey 3317. Other than that, I mean, I have a Facebook, but I mean, I don't use that much as far as golf goes. But
awesome, man. Well, hey, I know you're an avid cornhole player too, and you got some cornhole ghost matches to get back to. So we appreciate the time, and for everyone listening, that was Colton Heisey, PGA Tour and Korn Ferry Tour caddy. So thanks again for joining us this evening, man.
Look forward, no problem. Look forward to talking to you guys again. Hopefully we can get back to golf and lock up a PGA Tour card this season, and be back on the pod.
For sure, man. Let's
Absolutely,
pray
man.
for good weather, good health, and let's get back on the golf course as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Stay safe out there, guys.
Awesome, man. Take care.
Appreciate it.
That's the stuff. One shot at a